Hi, Suhail. Hi, Colin.
Hello. So, welcome for joining today's class. We have to proceed ahead from this slide onward. We were talking about the hybrid team, and now we are discussing the different team roles. As we were talking about the hybrid team, we understand there is a combination of all the roles which we have in a predictive project and an agile project. So generally speaking, we would have a project sponsor, we would have a project manager from the predictive side, and from the agile side, adaptive side, we would have a product owner and the team lead, and naturally the agile team members. Generally speaking, in any project, we have project management staff and project work staff. There is a difference between the two. Project management staff are those people who are assisting the project manager in planning and executing the project. They are like team leads, like supervisors, like deputy project managers, all those roles who are helping project manager in planning and execution. And the people who are doing the groundwork, they are called the project work staff. Classically, these terminologies are used in predictive project. In agile projects, we don't have a concept of this, but generally, these are the two types of roles in a project: project management roles and project work staff roles. In addition to that, we may have certain supporting experts like subject matter experts or consultants who are on and off joining the project, but they are not permanent employees of the project. They do not work continuously on the project. Even the project work staff, they may be part-time or full-time. But usually in a predictive project, which is run in a projectized environment, we see that project staff is full-time. Then we have got business partners, like people who are associated with this project as a partner or maybe as a subcontractor with us or someone. These people are sometimes required to join the team. So they may also become member of team for uh, permanent basis or temporary basis. So business partners may or may not be part of the actual work. Anyways, you could classify that in any way, but this is how our project team is made up of, whether it is a predictive project or an agile project. Then we have got identification of project resource requirements. Right now, we do understand that it is not only the human resource we require on the project, there are other resources as well. I would call them non-human or non-intelligent resources. Like they can be materials, they can be goods, they can be tools, they can be stores, they can be raw material, and maybe they can even be livestock, which is living material, but it is not intelligent living material. As far as humans are concerned, the team members, the contractors, the stakeholders, all of these people are human resources. They are the intelligent people. There is a remarkable difference in dealing with both kinds of resources: the living resources, the human resources, and the other resources. So, naturally, with the human resource, we have to take care of their sensitivities, their emotions, their motivations, and therefore we have to take special care of human resources. Whereas, as far as the non human resources are concerned, they may be just stored in place, they can be shifted from one place to other. So, we don't have to take care of their sentiments or something like that. Anyways, as far as the human resources are concerned, and when I say these human resources, I do not only mean the team members, I mean everybody involved. I mean all the stakeholders, all the subject matter experts, consultants, contractors, suppliers, vendors, even our team members, all of them are to be dealt with. So, all those people who are involved in the project in any way, we must ensure that they do have the relevant skill set as if they can be helpful. We don't want people to just fill in the spaces. They must know what they are there for. They must have the relevant knowledge, especially the people in the team. They must be qualified. They must be skilled. They must be able to do what they are supposed to be doing. Then we have got another philosophy which you might have used a lot many times, that is called avoid single point of failure. What do you mean by avoid single point of failure?
For me, it's a good example if you're talking about people. If you have one person that can do a specific job, what happens if they win the lottery and leave without notice, and therefore your whole project's got a massive problem because that's individual. So you need succession planning to avoid that.
Very nice, very nice. Actually, that is what we need to take care. If we are intelligent enough, we have to be very thoughtful about this point. If there is a single expert of something, we must have alternative plans ready. We should have some kind of succession planning. So, this is what is most important for us. Now, in an agile environment where we have got cross-functional teams, by the way, we do have cross-functional teams even in a predictive project. It is not really only true for the agile project, but in agile project, we definitely have cross-functional teams. Everyone is an expert of a different topic, different subject, and we put this cross-functional team together. So, cross-functional team, yes, we do have that. Another important thing is, I mentioned yesterday, I will talk about the generalizing specialists, generalists and specialists. There are two kinds of skills we can have in the people. Some people are generalists. Generalists mean that they are not expert of anything, but they know a little bit about everything. Normally in construction projects, we do have specialists, but most of the people, the labor class, that is generally they know each other's job a bit and they can replace each other. So they are generalizing, they are generalists. On the other hand, we have got certain specialists in the team because we need to take opinion from them. Their expertise is more than others. They are authority on the topic or the subject. So such people we call specialists. Now, what kind of people do we prefer? Naturally, we need to definitely have specialists, and naturally, we also need to have people who are generalists. But in an agile environment, the interesting part is everybody in the team, though we have got a very small team, everybody on the team must be a specialist of their own skill. Everyone is a specialist in agile projects. Naturally, we have got a very small team, unlike a construction project where we have got maybe a very large team of, say, 100 people working on the project. Naturally, maybe they are distributed in several teams. But you see, there's a large audience and there's only one project manager. In Agile, we have got very small teams of not more than 10 people, and every team is headed by a team lead, right? Every one of these 10 members are actually experts of all what is required to be done on the project. Means we do have an expert on every topic, right? Everyone in the team is carrying at least one specialization, maybe more, but at least one specialization. So they are all the specialists in our agile team. Now, to avoid the single point of failure, we must make such arrangements that these specialists can take over the job of others who are unable to join for a certain period of time. That is the succession planning. That is to avoid the single point of failure. So what we do is, in this team of specialists, we groom them in such a manner that they know their subject the best, but they start learning a bit about everyone else's job, right? You might do that by creating a buddy system. You can group two specialists together and let them learn each other's skills a bit more than others. And that could be one way of doing it. And the best way is that everyone on the team must know a little bit about everything else, right? In addition to their own specialization, they should know a little bit what everyone else is doing. That way, if, God forbid, one of the specialists is somehow missing one day, this is replaceable, because our other 9 members will jointly be able to handle the work in the absence of that person, right? So these are not only, each one of the team member is not only a specialist, but also a journalist, meaning they know a little bit about everything and they know a lot about one thing. They are specialists as well as generalists. So generally, we call them generalizing specialists. Generally, we call them generalizing specialists. So that way, we avoid a single point of failure. We also call them in another way, that is called, these are the T-shaped people. Have you heard about this term before? What is a T-shaped person?
No, this is the first I've heard of that, but it does, I haven't heard T-shaped person, but what you're saying does make sense. I just hadn't heard the term.
For example, this is a T. Can you see that? Now, let us assume the flange is the depth of knowledge. Here we have got more depth of knowledge. And this is the width of knowledge. This is for everyone. Here we have got less width of knowledge. So these people are supposed to carry both kinds of knowledge. As a specialist, they should have a lot of knowledge about only a few topics. I mean, they could be a specialist of at least one area. So this is the area of specialization in which they have a lot of depth, and the numbers of area of specialization are only few. All other areas required in the project team, they must carry a little bit of knowledge about that. They must carry a little bit of knowledge about every topic. Right? For example, this topic, this topic, this topic. So these are, there is no depth of knowledge, but they can survive in those areas. But this is just for the sake of bridging the gap when that one specialist is not available. For example, if you are not available, then someone else, or maybe 2 or 3 of them, jointly will replace you, and during your absence, they will be able to seamlessly work through. Such kind of skills are called generalizing skills, generalizing specialist skills, or you can call them T-shaped skills. These people are T-shaped. I hope you get it.
Yeah, no, I do. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Well, there are other philosophies also, which I don't want to really want to go in detail, but generally, I must tell you, there are other kinds of methodologies on that. There are pie-shaped people. Now, these pie-shaped people are those who are having depth of knowledge in at least 2 areas, right? And then we have got another thing which has got 3 legs. And then we have got another type which is called a comb structure. You are specialist of everything. It is like a comb, right? But anyways, we are not really concerned about all of these, but we do understand that T-shaped people concept, this concept is really very well understood to us and we can live with it. Anyways, so we have defined the generalizing specialist, then ensure appropriate physical resources and other requirement, that is equipment and access right. That means all the physical resources, the human resources and all the physical resources are available when we need them. That is important. Any kind of project management, you are doing it predictive or adaptive, you should have all the resources made available well in time. We don't want to wait. We don't want to, because that is going to delay us. In a predictive project, it is always the responsibility of the project manager to make all the arrangements. By the way, in a predictive project, we usually delegate this power of the project manager to the team, to various teams, because we have a hierarchy of leadership there. We may have, under the project manager, we may have many team lead, many supervisors, and so on. So generally, project manager delegates this thing to all downstairs, and therefore this responsibility is not taken up by any single person all the time. In Agile, we have absolutely a different way of working. We have taken away, in Agile projects, in adaptive projects, we have taken away the authority of the project manager. This is no more an authoritative project manager. He doesn't order the people around. He is rather a servant leader now. And the only responsibility we need him to accomplish is to take care of all the problems, resource availability, coordination with other organizations, other departments, other projects, and things like that. Teams should not be bothering themselves with all this communication. Everything which relates to coordination, to removal of the impediments, obstacles, making availability of the resources, everything is the responsibility of team lead. On the other hand, team lead has absolutely no authority over the team members. He cannot order them around. He cannot tell them what to do and what not to do. Then who decides what to do and what not to do? Every member of the team is self-sufficient because they are generalizing specialists, they are T-shaped people, they are autonomous. They can autonomously make their own decisions. They can develop a teamwork amongst themselves, and they can keep shifting the leadership role amongst themselves as per their capability and their expertise, right? So they are the people who decide what to do, how much to do, when to do, everything. All the decisions about the work are taken up by the team themselves, not by the team lead, not by the product owner, right? I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I do. I've got one question for you on that one then. If you've got, this works when you've got a bunch of senior people that really know what they want to do and want to deliver. If you've got some young juniorish people that have just started in their careers, you've got to be much more directive towards them so they can learn the right skills and learn what to do. So is that more of a hybrid thing where the team leads work in an agile manner, but sometimes the level, maybe not the level below them, but the level below that, they're very much being directed because they've still got so much to learn.
You're right, but in Agile, we can't take chances. We can't experiment. We can't have internees working with us. We need to have all the specialists, right? So even if you are trying to accommodate some internees, they should be in addition to the team. They should be just like observers, right? You can assign them some jobs which are harmless, right? But we don't want to get them involved in the real work.
No,
real work is done by the specialists.
So you can have all this other stuff, but when they're involved, you're more of a waterfall directive. You need to go and do this,
exactly.
And then I need to check to make sure it's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want to, affect the project negatively. We want it to happen. That is the primary thing. As far as the training of the people is concerned, that is a responsibility of the team lead. Team lead is responsible for keeping a tab on everyone and seeing who lacks what knowledge and provide the provision of that knowledge, expertise, guidance, counseling, mentoring. Everything is the responsibility of team lead. And he also cannot enforce
that's cool. Just
enforce anything on them. He will suggest to them that I think you are lacking decision-making skills. Do you want me to guide you on that? Do you want me to kind of organize a training for you? Maybe by an external trainer? If you like, I can do that because I can't borrow their time. They are busy people. I can't tell them, okay, stop working and we will have a training now. That is not the way it is done in Agile.
No, that's cool. I get you.
Right. So moving on, as I already told you, the T-shaped people, I think you are very much clear about the concept of the breadth and depth of knowledge. So T-shaped people, like these are three people sitting here, they might be experts of their own area. But you just imagine in a room full of PhDs, what is the discussion going on? In a room full of PhDs, everyone is a PhD in their own subject. What is the discussion going on? It's a very high level discussion, right? It is a highly specialized discussion, right? Rather than you put in some journalists in a room. I mean, some people who have got general knowledge about everything. You put them around in the room. They will have a chit chat. They will have no real talk. It will be chit chat. Right? So that is exactly what I mean, that when you put together a team of T-shaped people, this is a high-powered, high-performance team. Automatically, they start behaving like a very responsible group of people, right? So you cannot expect them to do mistakes because they are like checks on each other all the time. I know this kind of thing is available, is actually there in predictive projects also, but only at a very high level, where we have engineers and, kind of people who are very knowledgeable. And when they discuss things, they behave like this. They behave like a T-shaped people. But down there, where the work is being done by the labor class people, they may be expert of what they are doing, but they do not matter a lot. They are not the decision makers. Decisions are coming from the top in predictive project. So basically we control things from the top in a predictive environment, whereas in agile environment we control things right from the bottom. We have that team, highly skilled, high performing team, a very small team. This is also very important. These 10 people, what they can do, these highly skilled 10 people who are generalizing specialists, what they can do cannot be done maybe by 50 people. If you had unskilled 50 people sitting here and put them together in this team, they would not have achieved what these highly skilled people can do. That is what the point is. So we are being very careful in selecting these people, no internees in them. Yes, if somebody does lack something, maybe about how agile works and they are not really following the agile principles, there is team lead available to guide them on those aspects. He's a servant leader, always ready to serve them, always ready to make everything available for them whenever they want. That is the role of the team lead, not like a commander. Rest, I hope you are very well conversant with the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion standard everywhere in the world, especially the developed countries. They very much follow these principles, they understand them, and they respect them. But in some backward countries, maybe these things are still not being respected as they should be. But we should understand that we must diversify. Our workforce must not be composed of all the men or all the white men or something like that. So no racism, all are equal. This is the major understanding. Male, female, they must be equally distributed. Maybe black and white, all must be equally distributed. No diversity, everyone is equal. And especially even if somebody is handicapped, you cannot exclude that person. For example, there are stairs in the office, and because that handicapped person cannot move up the stairs, so you are conducting meetings upstairs where you want to exclude that person because you know he doesn't have an access to get to that place. That is criminal. You cannot hold a meeting if one of your team members is handicapped. It has to be accessible space. Then there is a concept of office space bullying, no bullying. There should be complete psychological safety. I think these are the normal trends today, and everyone does understand how to handle that. So I won't harp much more on it because we all understand the necessity of these things, and these things are necessary. These things are necessary. You must not be, the one who is not aware about these things, who is not following this. As far as the experts and the expert judgment is concerned, I have already told you, we have got lot many people to help us out to make our decisions. Even in an agile project, although we are ourselves the experts in the team, but still sometimes we do need some advice from a consultant or a subject matter expert. And in predictive project, we always need some advice. We always have access to subject matter experts and all those people. So people from other areas of the organization, maybe consultants, stakeholders, professional and technical associations, historical data, project manager, other project managers, all of these people we can consult with to come to our expert judgment. Before making a judgment, we must consult and make sure that the decision we are getting to is the right decision. So when the word expert judgment is used, it doesn't really mean that this is the judgment of one single person. Even project manager is the boss. Even in that environment, he is not to make all the decision all by himself or herself. It should be a consultation, a coordination with other experts, and after having listened to all of them, only then we can reach to expert judgment. So by all means, I want to emphasize that expert judgment is not your own opinion. It is not your own judgment. It is not one man's judgment, right? It is the judgment which you have comprehensively discussed with all the relevant experts and taken their opinion, and thus you make this expert judgment. Okay, we do understand we are a team, we have to collaborate, and before we can start collaborating within the team, we should be able to understand where and how can we do the best. And to do that, we may have to refer back to a very old analysis. We call it SWOT analysis. This is the analysis we do at the strategic level, we do at the departmental level, we do at the team level, and even at our individual level. You can sit down alone at night and contemplate what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are the opportunities open to me, what are the threats posed to me, and you can strategize accordingly. Maybe if you don't know what are your strengths, maybe some people tell you, maybe you realize that this is, I didn't know this is my strength. Once you know that, this becomes your responsibility to build on your strengths. Once you know your weaknesses, which you may not be knowing already, as soon as you learn about a weakness in your own person, you must try to improve upon that. So these are two things, strengths and weaknesses, which are always in your control, although you may not know them, but as soon as you know them, you can take remedial measures. As far as threats and opportunities are concerned, they are posed onto you from outside environment. You have absolutely no control over them. The threats and the opportunities, which I collectively call them the risks, the uncertainties. Those uncertainties will occur. So we must understand what all good or bad can happen to me. And then I could strategize that if this occurs, what should be the steps I would be taking to avoid that? I mean, not really, I'm not saying if it has occurred, if this is likely to occur, what precautionary measures should I be taking to reduce the effect of a threat or to increase the chances of an opportunity, right? You see, the risk remains a risk until it has not occurred. All the measures I can take to reduce a threat or enhance an opportunity that should be taken before the occurrence of the event. If it occurs, I can't do nothing about improving the chances, right? I can then have to bear the results. So classically speaking, when a risk is yet not occurred, there is a chance that this thing can happen, only then I can start visualizing what can I do, what are the steps I can do to somehow capitalize on that, avoid the threats or opportunity, or get the opportunities. But one thing I will talk about it later in the chapter of risk, and that is once a risk actually has happened, that uncertainty has become a certainty that good or bad thing has happened. It is no more a risk because risk is a name of uncertainty. When it happens, it doesn't remain any more uncertain. Therefore, it is no more a risk. So all the actions you take on the management of risk are not applicable any further. So what does it become when a risk happens? It ceases to remain a risk, threat, or opportunity. It becomes an issue. An issue leads to a problem, and naturally issues and problems are to be resolved, right? So that is another subject. That is not risk management. That is after the risk management. Coming back to the subject, SWOT analysis you can do at the personal level, but why can't you do at the team level? Because normally when we get together in a team, usually we have different members of the team every time in every circumstance. This is not the same people we might have worked with earlier. So first of all, we need to get to know each other. We need to understand each other. And then we have to find out what are the collective strengths we have as a team. What are the collective weaknesses do we have? What are the collective threats which are posed to us? And what are the collective opportunities? And we do a SWOT analysis and strategize how to behave. So that is very important. So focus on your team strengths, capitalize on them, and ultimately develop a highly collaborative and environment, thus becoming a high performance team. That is today's objective. Today we need just not the teams who can work, but high performing team who can work in the most excellent manner possible. So that kind of team is what we are aiming to develop. Now, teams must have some kind of norms. They can, I would talk about an agile project. In agile project, because team makes their own decisions, so they set their norms all by themselves. Team collectively talks about it and write down the team norms. How are we going to behave? How are we going to conduct meetings? How are we going to communicate? How are we going to deal with conflicts? How are we going to negotiate? What are our shared values? So, how are we going to make decisions? So, I'm not saying that it is a complete procedure written here. Norms are just pointers, right? So, like it could be one of the norms could be honest. This is one norm, right? Don't, for example, you can say always be on time. This is another norm. So these kinds of short cues could be used as your team norms, and every team could set up their own norms. But once these norms have been established and agreed by the team, they will be widely known, widely displayed, visually displayed in large letters on the walls, and everyone should know that. Nobody can say that, oh, I did not know it. Everyone must know it because these are the rules set by them for themselves. Right? So, together establish expected team behavior at the beginning of the project, enable teams to handle challenges later just because of these things set up, include guidelines and techniques. I mean, just pointers. I'm not saying you can refer back to some kind of a management plan where the whole procedure, how to conduct a meeting is there, where you can refer back to the communication management plan as far as to understand how communications will happen. But general guidelines are created here. These are called the team norms. And we also, and this should include the ethical code and the professional conduct, right? So team norms are included in a document you create by yourself. I mean, nobody is giving it to you. The team creates a document in which they jot down these norms. This document may be called as a team charter. Team charter. It is, as I mentioned before, team charter is different from a project charter. Project charter is something else. That is a authorization given by the project sponsor to the project manager to take on the project, right? The team charter is kind of a mutual understanding among the team members and the set of rules they have set to operate as a team, as a highly collaborative team, right? So this is the team charter. And it includes specifically the most important item in the team charter are the team norms. They like be honest, be on time, such like instructions. As far as the code of ethic and professional conduct is concerned, I believe every organization should have it, and I am sure your organizations are also having some kind of code of ethic or professional conduct, whether it is written or not. But I have seen even in school days, we used to have a honor code, right? So even in school, we used to be following some norm. We don't have to lie, we don't have to be late, and things like that. And naturally, the system was designed around that. So in organizations also, they do have a code of ethic. Maybe it is coming from your culture, maybe it is coming from the religion, it is coming from your geography or your location. It all matters to set the rules of the game for your region, for your for your, discipline or whatever you are doing. If your organization has their own code of ethics and professional conduct, you are bound to follow that. No questions asked. If you don't have that, many organizations have this problem. They don't have any written down rules. So for that, PMI has been very helpful. They created a common code of ethics and professional conduct, and this can be followed by all the project managers. Right? This code of ethics created by PMI is very interesting, and it is very good because it follows these 4 values: responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty. Now, it's very interesting. It says you are responsible for whatever you do, and you are also responsible for whatever you do not do. What does that mean? Michael? You are responsible for whatever you do, and you are also responsible for whatever you do not do. How do you translate that statement?
When you say responsible for what you do not do, I'm not that clear on what you're trying to get at there.
Okay. What about the first statement? You are responsible for what you do.
Yeah, if your actions sort of lead to some kind of outcome or effect,
Right.
you take responsibility for that.
Exactly. You take the responsibility, whatever you have done, good or bad, you take the responsibility. But what does the other part of the sentence mean? You are also responsible for what you did not do. You are supposed to do something, but you did not do it. Who is responsible for that? You are responsible for that. Isn't it?
Okay, I see what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Like we just had a sort of a case in the news in New Zealand somewhat recently about some guy fell off onto a conveyor belt, and the company apparently was given several warnings about you need to install some kind of rail to prevent the fall, but they didn't.
Right. But they did not install. And if they do not install, that was their responsibility, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you are responsible for installing it. And if you have installed it, but you have installed it wrongly, again you are responsible for it. So both ways you are responsible. You can't shed away your responsibility. You can't start pointing fingers to others. It is not my fault. It is that person's fault. That is the biggest, worst thing you can do. A responsible person will never ever point fingers to others. He would take on the responsibility if it was his or her. Second, respect. Those who cannot respect themselves cannot respect anyone else. Agree or not?
Yes.
Respect starts at home, right? You can't really understand how to respect anyone until you have ever been respected. You can't get yourself respected, then how can you give respect to anyone? Right? So this is there is a lot written on that. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but respect breeds respect, right? So first, I must respect myself as a person, right? And if I respect myself as a person, I would be able to appreciate you as a person, and I would give you your due respect, right? I should understand where we are, who has what. Then fairness. Fairness is very common, very understandable. We should not be, unfair. We should not do favoritism. We should not take bribes. No personal gains. Whatever we are doing for our company. No personal benefits, right? That is fairness. There is a clause of conflict of interest, you might understand that. If you are doing something as an employee of your organization, and that can benefit you personally as well, you have to highlight that to the organization as if there is no conflict of interest. If your organization feels all right about that, yes, company is earning money out of it, but somehow you are also being benefited from that. Is it unfair? You have to really get it in front of them that because I am doing this, I am getting extra payment from somewhere. Is it legal, illegal, or what? Is it a kind of a price to me, or what? So you are responsible for highlighting all such events of conflict of interest, and your boss will be the best judge whether he tells you that this is fair or it is unfair, right? If it is unfair, if it is decided by the boss that this is unfair, you can't get any payment for what you are doing for the official duty. So naturally, you will cease to do that action. One of the examples I can give you, I was serving in a company, and it was an 8 hours per day job. I was also studying, and I was doing my specialization in my own time. And once I had done that, and naturally I did get the permission from my company that I can I study in that period, which is my own time. They said, okay, there is no conflict of interest. We don't feel that can affect our working. Then I started teaching in the university. Before I started teaching in the university, although that was never in the office time, that was on weekends or something. Again, I went to my company and asked them, this might be a conflict of interest. So please clarify, can I teach in my own time or not? Right? And they allowed me. So that is, in fairness, if I am earning something, although I am an employee of that organization, I am making some extra bucks. Does that affect my company? I have to highlight it in front of them as if they will allow or disallow. If they disallow me, I have absolutely no right to do that. Last value is honesty. I think this is one value which every nationality, every human being, everywhere in this universe would understand it. So you have to be honest completely in all your dealings, and it should be entire honesty. Like if you're supposed to tell me a truth, and you delay that truth by a day, the advantage I had to get from that truth will not come to me. So delaying truth is also dishonesty. You have to be honest. You say, I was very honest about it, but you were honest. You did tell me the whole thing, but you did not tell me well in time. Therefore, I could not take benefit out of it. So that was dishonesty. You intentionally delayed that information to get to me, as if I could not benefit from it. This is again dishonesty. Or maybe for some nefarious reasons, I tell you half truth and half I hide, or I lie about half the thing. That is also dishonest. It is not just not telling the truth. It is telling the truth incompletely, delayed, or in any other fashion is dishonest. We must understand that. Anyways, I am not really going to be talking more about it because I understand that you know these values, but I just wanted to highlight, if you do not have any values dictated by your organization, you can adopt this PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. This is good to follow anywhere in any kind of environment. Okay, coming back to our team charter and our ground rules, the norms, etc. So this could be framed like a document. It could be electronic, it could be paper, it could be a large poster of ground rules you can paste on the walls of your office space. I think that is the best way to display your team norms in front of on a co-located space. You can have it in a large writing, bold letters. This must be created together by the team. Nobody else is ordering you. You are voluntarily creating it as a team, and these are the rules you have decided to follow and you will follow. And what it could include, what are our shared values? Now, this is very important. As if we want to be on the same page, we want to have the same understanding of what we are doing. So, first of all, we must create the shared values, shared beliefs, and shared understanding about what we are doing. Because that is going to reduce a lot of conflict. If people doesn't have agreed on certain shared values, then they will have conflict and they will have difference of opinion all the time. So let us agree on certain things, that these are the rules of the game. Then behavior guidelines. How should we behave in the various circumstances? Should I be attentive in the workspace? Should I be, whatever kind of behavior is expected from me? So that guideline could also be there. How are we going to communicate, and what are which tools are we going to be using for communication purposes? Maybe email, maybe, we want to, the only valid communication we think is to physically talk to the other person. Although this is the most effective way of communication. You physically talk to the other person, there is nothing matching that. But naturally, you could have other limitations. So you choose what is going to be your way of communication and tool of communication. How are we going to make decisions? How are we going to expect performances from each other? How are we going to deal with conflict resolutions? How are we going to conduct the meetings? Like how much a meeting should maximum be of what time? How frequently should we have the meeting? There can be other team agreements like shared hours, improvement activities, and things like that. I can talk a lot about each one of these items, but I hope I gave you some idea. But to give you an even better idea, I'll show you a sample. This is a sample of a team charter. Remember, it is not a project charter. It is not a project charter. But a lot many things in this looks like a project charter, but actually the crux of the matter in the team charter is the last part of it, which are team guidelines and communication, which are the ground rules. This is what we are interested in. Everything else is a preface. This is the portion which you should print in bold letters and display visually in your workspace. This is something everyone must have on their fingertips. Rest everything is about what this project is and the broad things which are already given in the charter, like the name of the project, the sponsoring unit, duration of the charter, number of project team members, team member time commitment, scope of the work, very briefly, the broad timelines and key milestones, very broadly. This is not something which is a detailed discussion. Broadly, with the things which were given to you at the time of project charter. So we are just reproducing them. Administrative reporting requirements, resource and budget, project team, names of the people who all are the team members, exactly the names of the people. Maybe their contact information also can be shared. Then the key roles in this team, we can broadly outline what are the responsibilities of those key roles. For example, project team executive sponsor roles and responsibilities, project manager roles and responsibilities, project team member roles and responsibilities. Broadly, we can outline that. But again, coming to the crux of it, the most important part of it, these are the ground rules which everyone must remember by heart and must follow 100%. So, and they are being set by mutual communication and coordination. We have collaborated to develop these rules. So let us read these rules and see how interesting they are. And they will differ from one organization to other, naturally one team to other. For example, work hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the office. So you can set the work hours for your project. On-site working hours are posted on-site and changed daily. Use security ID badges to enter site at any hour. Hard hats and boots must be worn on-site. You see? I'm not saying that it is going to be true in every environment. Maybe these people are doing some kind of construction activity and there is a time card system. They have to punch their time cards and things like that. So yes, of course, whatever is the rule of the game, you should give it there. Another thing is be polite. Oh, nice. Be polite. This is kind of a basic ingredient. Everybody agrees that we have to be polite with each other. So therefore it is there. Otherwise, you may not have added it as a ground rule. Respect everyone's opinion. Speak to people directly and appropriately before airing grievances in public. Very important point. We should not start talking about others with outside people until and unless we have directly tried to resolve the issue with them. Speak to them directly. Face them, confront them, but don't crib around about that person. People may be contacted outside of working hours, but they are not required to respond. I think you would very much agree with this statement that yes, there can be emergencies and you can be contacted even on a holiday, but it is your discretion because that is your time. You may or may not respond. If you do not respond, your boss should not mind because this is my off time. Anyways, use relevant messages in work chats. Be on time to the meetings. Ask for help when you need it. Communicate honestly and openly. Use emails for essential communication. So read emails properly. Now, I'm not saying that these ground rules are team norms are going to be the same for every team. Every team will create their own, but this is a very good guideline. So I have shown you a complete team charter sample and also emphasize that actually the thing which matters is the ground rule. So ground rules must be prominently displayed visually on the wall of the office space, that everyone coming and going should be able to read it and be reminded that this is what we agreed and this I cannot defy or deny. Are you with me on that? Do you have this kind of arrangement somewhere in your organization, Colin?
We don't. We have all those rules, but we don't have them up on the wall. We just don't hold. In New Zealand is a country where everybody's expected to work reasonably hard between about 8:30 and 5:30, but outside that, your time is your time. And yeah, there's just a lot of general life rules that most organizations in New Zealand have. So we don't necessarily put them in a team, but yeah, it's I can see why the overall document is quite a good thing. But
you could have a rule that we will maybe, here the working hours are mentioned. You could mention we will have flexi hours. We will have to complete 8 hours a day, no matter how. We may be doing it from home. We may be doing coming late.
I mean, there most organizations in New Zealand are a lot of them have what you call, unless you're in a production line job or something, if you're an office-based person, a lot of organizations are moving towards flexible. They have core hours and flexible hours. So lots of places will turn around and say your core hours, and you need to be available between 10 and 3 or something, because that means you get to deal with drop your kids and do that, and still, but you're expected to also fit in 8 hours a day. So there's 5 core hours, but you figure out how the other 3 work. So I mean, people do all that kind of stuff. It depends on your employer, depends on what you're up to. Obviously, if you're in construction, then it's slightly different, because everyone needs to start roughly at the same time. You can't have people dripping in and out. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a project charter ever used. But everything there is, what I would normally expect people to work.
But at the organization level, you do have these kind of things.
Oh yeah, and we have roles and responsibilities and org charts, and
what I am emphasizing here is that at the team level also, if you could have some kind of ground rules set, it would make the lives of the people easier. The people in the team would feel more engaged because they are all on the same page.
Yeah.
So this is my point, that even it is a good idea to have a team charter or a ground rule set by the team, right? In a predictive project, it might be set by the project manager, because that is like a commander there, right? He doesn't want you to collaborate, so he will write down these ground rules and he will say, okay, these are the ground rules, and you all have to follow this. Well, that is more autocratic. I don't really like it. But in Agile, the team sets the rules for themselves. Okay, moving on. Talking about the team communication, we have already talked a little bit about what is empathy, what is this, what is that. So, talking about the effective communication, we do understand that communication could be verbal, and that is most effective if we are sitting across the table and talking to each other. Nothing is more effective than that. That is the most effective way of communicating, face-to-face, verbal communication. But if it is not possible that you can do verbally, you can go in writing. But you see, you lose the empathy, you lose many things. But yes, message gets through. Written is possible. We can have certain behavioral communications also. Like, I said body language, right? Even without using verbal or written communication, you pass by and I nod at you, I smile at you. These are behavioral communication. Or I turn away from you. These are various symbols. We are talking actually, but we did not speak. So these are behavioral symbols. Then we could have physical communications, like, writing something down on a notice board or something like that, drawing something on a chart or something. So yes, physical communication, and we have virtual communication as we are having it now. Whether it is video, audio, teleconference, whatever. But we are having that kind of environment. So we are now in a habit of all kinds of communication, but you must always keep evaluating which is the most suited mechanism to communicate effectively. So include your communication expectations and details in the team chart. Your team charter must be, tailored around the effective communication. Organize your communications, facilitate team and stakeholder collaboration, manage their expectation. I think we studied that when we were talking about stakeholders. We talked a lot about stakeholders. So we do understand that. Check regularly to make sure it's working. Right? You make a plan and you just forget about it. No, you have to keep reviewing it, keep looking at how well it is performing, and keep revising it, keep updating it. That could be a good thing. And when you are done with something, always look back, learn some lessons, write it down, discuss with your team what we did right, what we did wrong. That is called a retrospective exercise. Plan and use retrospective to discuss communication improvements. How can you improve it in the next step? And this could be a regular thing. You could, maybe, you are not agile, I don't mind, but on a daily basis, if, for example, you are working in an office and on daily basis, at the end of the day, you say, okay, before we leave, let us have a 5-minute retrospective. What we did right, what we did wrong today, and what did we learn out of it, and what we will not do again from tomorrow onward. Just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can have a stand-up meeting and you can feel relieved with that. Every day you do that, probably you are going to be doing wonders. Okay, let us compare the co-located team to a virtual team. As I said before, there is no match to face-to-face communication. So co-located team is my best option. I would love to do it if possible, And we should try our level best to make that possible. If two people can meet each other face to face, they're in the same workspace, and they should not be calling each other or doing things. They should come and see each other face to face. If possible, whole of the team, if they can be located, if there is possible to have them all together in one room, always do that. There is nothing better than that. Interaction is easy. Better bonding is facilitated. Used to physical tools, collaborations, and boards, etc. Physically, you can draw, use the notice board, talk to each other, show your gestures, body language, everything. It is the best possible mechanism for any kind of work. Virtual team, I would say, in today's fast-moving world, where we are working across the globe, where we cannot be co-located all the time, so we are reduced to the level of a virtual team, and therefore we will make it work. But still, if ever it becomes possible, we have an opportunity to be co-located temporarily, we should get together. Normal, in most workplaces, create opportunities for the organization. Like there are many benefits of virtual teams. Like we can have the experts from different parts of the world interacting at a very low cost. Basically, they don't have to travel all the way to thousands of miles away, and then you have to bear the boarding and lodging expenses and many other things. So those expenses are gone. It's just a one call away. You just are together online or maybe on telephone. So better skills can be used at lower cost. We can avoid relocation expenses. And the biggest advantage is our work-life balance is not disturbed. If you're commuting, you're working from home. So basically, you are working, you are performing, but you're sitting right beside your child, and you can see them, you can look after them if there is any problem. So I'm not saying all the time you should be sitting around your family, but once or twice a week, if that could be possible, that could bring a lot of improvement to your work-life balance. Rely on communication technology. Naturally, we have to, because we are no more face-to-face, so we have to rely on some kind of communication technology. And naturally, the bond we had physically, we won't have that. May have bonding challenges in virtual teams. One little example, virtual teams are very common nowadays, but in olden days, we used to have the teleconferences were very new in those days. So we used to communicate on teleconference. I was on several PMI teams which were working on developing new standards. So we used to work from all over the globe, right? So I was the team lead of one area, and there were 7 other team leads, and then there was a program manager. And we were in the core team, and then each one of us, I had my own team of 25 people, and they were from everywhere in the world, in every time zone. So we used to have a central committee meeting on a weekly basis, and then my own team, I used to have a meeting once a week with them as well, right? So I like PMI from that aspect, that although we had never seen each other physically, so we started working. We were meeting every week not on video, on telephone, meaning I had never seen those people by face. But every 3 months, PMI would send us air tickets, make arrangements for us in one of the cities in the country, in the world, and we all were put together at one place, and we used to have a physical meeting for 3 days, and that actually created the bond. So even if you are not permanently co-located, try to co-locate your team sometime, as if they can interact and they can create better bonds together. I hope this example is something you are also doing all the time. Are you doing that?
Yes.
Well, certainly my old work, where it's a global engineering firm, so you didn't get to turn up and see people a lot, but I used to work a lot with other people, and when I actually finally met them, it was quite funny, because we just walked in and we just looked at each other as if to say, hang on a minute, you look wrong, you're too large, you're not on the screen. And it was funny, because it's I still talk to them today about stuff, but I've never met them, but literally I still get messages from some of them outside work asking, and we know about each other's families and stuff. So yeah, it's stuff that if I'm working virtual, I will do. But you're totally right. Co-located is the way to go if you possibly can, because
exactly,
there's so much more just from actually, like,
right.
We call it the coffee machine conversation.
One big advantage I had with that, when we used to meet physically, maybe in Washington or in Sydney or wherever we were, so wherever we met, that was the first time we could really have a dinner together. We could really talk informally, and that was the time when people used to share their family pictures and everything. That was our bond, and that bond became so strong. By the end of the year, just 1 year, we met only 4 times, but that bond was classic. We still communicate with each other. After, say, 20 years, still we are communicating, where we had met only 4 times in our life. That's it. So that is how the bonds are built.
I totally agree.
Okay, what are the virtual team challenges? Naturally, we have already understood quite a bit of that by our previous discussion. Individual performance tracking might be an issue. We can't see what the other person is doing, whether, how can you ensure individual performance tracking, not in a very intrusive manner? Maybe you can have more frequent, video calls or something like that, where we can keep discussing things. So somehow you want to keep track of whatever everyone is doing. And by the way, when you start trusting each other, it becomes an automatic system where nobody is trying to bluff anyone. Everyone is contributing towards that. When I was a leader of the team of 25 people, I was a head of quality, and I got 25 people with me, and many of those people were more knowledgeable than me. Right? When I started leading them, they listened to me, whatever the ideas were and how the things are to be tailored and organized. And then one of them, who was a PhD in quality, he personally, got in touch with me and he told me that I want to send you a presentation on what you mentioned. I was talking about house of quality because we had to do the analysis. So he said that I am sending you a presentation on house and quality, and when you are actually telling us about house of quality, please include those things in it. This is how we contribute. No, there was no competition. He knew better than me, but he helped me build my presentation as if all other team members can be on the same page. That is exactly how we work in such kind of environment. So it is not only me trying to track how everyone is performing, but my subordinates or my team members were also serving to improve my performance. That is the beautiful thing in it. Then we have diversity, naturally, languages.
Sorry, on that last one, it's one thing as a manager you have to be aware of much more, because I've met a lot of project managers that think they know everything, and one of my basic ground rules is always listen to other people's opinion. So, like, when we want to do something, I'll often say, "Oh, this is the direction we need to head in, and this is how I think we should get there. But how would you, start the conversation? But how would you get there? Because if someone's willing to start the conversation, I'll always apply the speak last principle, which is, as a project manager, people tend to follow it. So you speak last to get everyone's opinion. But if no one, I'll happily give an opinion to start the conversation. But I think that's quite right. Is you've always got to be listening to other people, what their opinion, because they actually might, even if they're your junior, they might have spotted something that you haven't seen and come up with a better solution. And if they do that and you do adopt it, you have to give them the full credit and accept openly that they had a better idea than you did.
Exactly. So naturally, when you work in that kind of environment, you have got language diversity, technological skills diversity, and we learn from each other. We learn from each other, and that is a beautiful thing. But one thing about virtual team is that right now, we all are sitting in 3 different places in a separate room. And though we are talking to each other and we feel that we are engaged, but we are not physically engaged, right? You can't touch me, I can't touch you. We can talk to each other. But there is an element of solo working which prohibits bonding. This is just for these 3 hours we are together. And then again, maybe we meet after, say, 1 week or something like that. So there is an element of, isolation which creeps in, that I'm sitting alone, I'm alone. Nobody can really see me or something like that. So virtual teams have that challenge, but in physical teams, we are physically there. They can see us. We just don't, just like your camera shuts off. It's not like that. You're sitting there. I can see you. Okay, running virtual teams, check in with people individually as often as possible because they are not present. I can't see them. So please check with them. They will be joining in time, this and that. Conduct positive network building activities. Well, when we have got large teams, we usually, I don't keep talking. I get them involved in some kind of discussion, some kind of assignment or something, as if I can get out and they can start interacting with each other. Although I should be doing it more, but because we have got small team, so it's not really advisable to waste time on many other things. But anyways, that is a very good approach. Conduct positive network building activity. So, virtual team communication technology, what do we do here? We plan team communications and collaboration methods, right? So, in virtual teams, we design it in a way how and when and where we are going to be communicating and what time zones, etc. Consider working hour, geographic dispersion, and security requirement. Naturally, we don't mind, but sometimes you are sleeping and that is not suitable time when I should be conducting this course. So you see, in your country, you are both in New Zealand, so we started at noon time. At my place, it was 5 a.m. Doesn't bother me because that is my prayer time and I'm anyways awake. It was all right with me. But if it was a trouble for me or for you, probably we shouldn't have picked up that time. So we always negotiate according to our time, according to our geographic location, our security requirements and all of the things. We must take, we always take them into account when organizing a virtual meeting. Then we must have the appropriate tools for communicating. Like here, what we are doing is we are using the PowerPoint presentation. Maybe I can show you some other, I can share some other screens with you, or maybe whiteboard is available within the Zoom. We can use that. We can do messaging and chatting like the available in Zoom, or maybe we can do that on WhatsApp or some, you can email me. Maybe I share my calendar with you, or the videos I share with you on YouTube, or maybe I have a cloud account and I share my cloud account and say, okay, you can download these things from there. So these all are various means in which we can communicate with each other. That reduces the distances. Actually, instantly, I give you a link and you get to that link and you can see the previous video. Or you can download certain files from the PM Training School website. So knowledge repositories are available, video conferencing mechanisms are available. So these are all the things we must consider in developing the virtual team communication. Address virtual team member needs. Naturally, we have to keep everyone involved. We have no problem here because we are just three people, and three people we may be addressing each other, questioning each other, talking to each other. So I know still you might feel sometimes lonely. Maybe I have not named you for some time, and you say, okay, he's not talking to me most of the time. But generally, if I have got, say, 12 people sitting here, I have to specially have certain means to create cohesion amongst everyone, understanding shared goals, purpose. The clear purpose should be there, clarity of roles and expectations. So these things, especially in the virtual team, we must clarify. We must make it very clear. It must be at the top of the mind. Okay, some questions here. What are the two techniques that a project manager can use to appraise the skills of a potential team member? Two options are correct. Which should you like?
I think it's A and B.
Okay. Colin, what do you think?
What's a Kanban board?
Kanban board is kind of a task board on which we write down our progress.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with A and B because focus groups you can test if they're any good by actually asking them specific questions in that focus group, and a certain ability test does it as well.
You are right. You're right. A and B are the correct answers because when you are appraising the skills, you will be doing the ability testing. You'll be discussing in a group or something like that. But RASI is the responsibility and accountability matrix.
Matrix.
RASI is not applicable.
Yeah.
Okay, which of the two statements describe the self-organizing team? Two statements.
Self-organizing, asking teams to assess. No, A is correct anyway.
Uh-huh. There are two options, correct?
Yeah, no. Or C. Because D is the project manager's dictating. B is, well, that's just doing it before you lose them, and so it must be A and C.
Okay. So what do you say, Michael?
I agree, A and C.
Okay, the right answer is A and C. Very good. Oops. Which two of the following the reasons the PMI publishes a code of ethics?
Certainly B.
B and C.
Oh, yeah.
Honesty, integrity, and commitment, and compliance with the rules and laws. Which of the following is an artifact that outlines how the team will operate and work together?
A.
A.
Yeah, A.
Charter. Good. Which is a good practice for the use of collaboration technology?
C.
C.
Yeah.
Very right. Michael, you agree?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Which two are examples of the virtual team collaboration? The answer is already on board. Virtual team collaboration is not the laptop hard disk. It's not the social media. It is shared task boards which you can share on your meeting, and team chat boards where you can online chat on the Zoom or something.
Yeah.
In which of the following artifacts will a list of stakeholders who will receive communications about the project appear?
Certainly B.
C.
Will be, no, hang on. Will a list of stakeholders who will receive communications with the project? So B is definitely right. Receive list of stakeholders receive communications. Oh yeah, stakeholder read.
So it's just a pick one answer, right?
Oh no, got you. It's pick one, isn't it? Yes. I'm going to go B.
B. Okay. And Michael?
Yeah. Okay. B. I was also looking at D because it had the other one, but yeah, I'm okay with B.
But if you are not B, then what was your answer?
D.
D is the correct answer. But no, B is the correct answer. Communication management plan actually list of stakeholders is created in the stakeholder register, but who will get the communication, that you will know from the communication management, right? Okay. Which of the following is not a component of communication management plan?
That is B, stakeholder register.
D.
C?
Yeah.
Okay. You tell me, communication management plan. In the communication management plan, we must know the initiator and receiver. Very good. And this is decided in communication management plan. Stakeholder register is not decided in communication management plan. It is an input to the communication management plan. So,
yes, it's a component of it.
Sorry. B is the correct answer, but these may not be matching it, which is not a component of communication management plan. Initiator and receiver of the project information, that is not part of the communication. That is part of the communication plan. Stakeholder register is not part of the communication plan. Everything else is a part of the communication management plan. Why? Because stakeholder register is not created during the communication management planning.
But it's an input to it.
Yeah.
So therefore, I thought it would be a component of it.
Actually, I was confusing the word not. Visual planning is not a component of communication management. And you are right, stakeholder register. After
you got to pick the PMI answer to pass the exam.
I know, and that's exactly what I failed on, because I picked my answer, which was, I thought, well, a component of it, the stakeholder register, is an input to it, therefore it's a component of it. So that's why I discounted it.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
But basically, you say which is not a component of communication management plan. So stakeholder register is not.
Fair enough.
After integrating the communication management plan into the overall project plan, what would be the next logical step?
Overall project plan. What would be the next? Oh, B or C, I'm not sure. One of the two.
It says that your communication management has been integrated into the project management.
Yeah. I know.
But it has been integrated. Why are you talking about schedule and why are you talking about other things? It has been put inside the project management plan, which already had other management plans. So it is all ready to go.
Would it be D, the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You will not distribute it to all the stakeholders as if they can start expecting. Which two of the following should be included in a communication management plan? Two of them.
Yeah.
I think it is A and D.
Yes, definitely.
A and D. Very right. Okay, we are done with this topic and we can have a break now. Any questions so far?
No.
No questions here.
Okay. So let us have a break for, say, let's have a break for 15 minutes, huh?
Sounds good.
I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Cool.
The next topic is build shared understanding. So how do we build shared understanding? Naturally, I am talking about a collaborative environment, and there we have to somehow bring about everyone together, collaborate with everyone, and seek consensus for the project among the team and the stakeholders, right? It is the collaboration not only amongst the team members, but also with all other stakeholders. You see, the concept of shared understanding is not only within the team, this is with all the stakeholders. We all must be understanding the thing in exactly the same manner. We should have minimal conflict. I don't say that we should not debate with each other. We should debate with each other, but only on matters of concern. The things which are already agreed and understood, we do not waste time on that. So for seeking this consensus, we demonstrate leadership behaviors. We only focus on value and don't talk about unnecessary items. Be a diligent, respectful, and caring steward. So as a team lead or project manager, it is your responsibility to be very diligent, hardworking, very respectful towards all the stakeholders, and a caring person. Trust me, in that role, you will have to deal with many complex situations. You must be ready to deal with the complexity. You have to navigate your way out of complexity, not only your way out of complexity, but take everyone along with you. Get them out of the complexity, maneuver them around the complexity, get them out of the bad situation. Embrace adaptability and resilience. So while you are doing all that, gaining your consensus with all the team members and the stakeholders, you could come up with some documents which could list down all those things. I'm not talking about the team charter, I'm talking about the project charter. This is basically not done by the project manager. Basically, it started with the project sponsor, and project sponsor was basically the originator of the project charter, and this was where the order was given to the project manager to initiate the project. In an agile project, the roles are slightly different. In a purely agile, I'm not talking about hybrid, in a purely agile project, you would have a sponsor as a product owner. Product owner will act as a sponsor, and the document he would create and give it to the team is generally not called project charter in adaptive language. We call it project vision statement. Although it means the same, but vision statement has a little different connotation. Charter is more of an order, more of an authorization, whereas vision statement is something that this is the vision of us all. There is a sense of adaptability in it. And therefore, the format is slightly different, but it serves the same purpose as a project charter. So basically what we have seen here is that the very first person who has the responsibility of building a shared understanding or giving something to start with is the project sponsor or the product owner, and they give us either the project charter or the project vision statement. I don't mind if you keep calling it project charter, even in Agile, it doesn't really matter. But you just have an understanding that the format of project charter might be slightly more tailored in an adaptive environment, and we rather call it a vision statement as compared to the project charter. But anyways, one thing is certain, that it serves to build a shared understanding. This is the basic statement of the project, and everyone will refer back to the project charter anytime they would like seek guidance and alignment. So share the project agreement, that is either the vision statement or the project charter, with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders and all the team members. Everyone must have a good understanding of what is written in the project charter or the vision statement. And they must not have any questions any further. They must be really clear about the statement of the charter, and they should start moving ahead. Secondly, they must agree and negotiate to reach agreement and buy-in. If any stakeholder has any difference of opinion about the project agreement, that must be sorted out with that stakeholder, make him understand what this project agreement really means, or if the concern of the stakeholder is valid, then probably we may have to amend the project charter accordingly. As you remember, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about various communications, we said one communication is kick-off meeting, right? Kick-off meeting is conducted before we start the project, and if any stakeholder has any misunderstanding about the agreement or about the project charter, that must be clarified there and then. Or if they have a valid reason, it may serve to update the project charter. That was the point. So project charter can be updated in light of a valid opinion given by a stakeholder, and project agreement would be affected by that. So we agree and negotiate, get a buy-in from all our stakeholders, and we have to accommodate their opinions. Then we also have to agree and negotiate about the various roles and responsibilities, priorities and assignment, and that this is for the team, right? So with the team, we will be clear about the roles and responsibilities, and we may have a debate about that. Uphold this agreement once this has been agreed. It is to be upheld throughout the life of the project. This is the key document based on which whatever we are doing is actually based on this one single document, which is either the project charter or the project vision statement. So use open and reliable communication methods and your leadership power skills. This is what you have to actually apply your power skills with the soft skills, your negotiation skills, conflict management, leadership, all of that, and even the communication. The vision statement, although the term is different, and it is only used for agile projects, adaptive projects, but it is actually the same thing as the project charter. So this is created by naturally the executive, and executive here is the product owner, right? So created by the project sponsor or executive, and it includes a clear vision of the desired objective and alignment with the organizational strategic goals. Actually, charter was also serving the same purpose, but it was more of an order rather than something to convince the team, right? So charter is more of an authorization that this has been approved. Now you are assigned to do this job. But in vision statement, we are trying to convince our project manager and our team that this is the vision and these are the objectives and these are the alignment. We are trying to convince them that this is a valid job and you should do it. The only difference is the frame of mind. Is it an order or is it a discussion? So project vision statement is like we are keeping the door open for the team to make their own final decision. This is one document, once agreed, will have to be maintained throughout the project life and will be referred to all the time throughout the project. But naturally, in agile environment, we are quite flexible. If any time in the life of the project, the vision statement is going to fluctuate, we are going to accommodate that. In a charter, that is usually not possible to change the charter once it has been developed. But in my life, practically, I have seen project charters being revised in the middle of the project. And one of the examples probably I gave you earlier, when we were working on PMBOK 4th edition, and I was one of the team members, core team members, and we were in the middle of the project. It was a 4-year-old project. We were in the 3rd year, I think. Almost the 3rd year was about to complete. When we received a revised charter by the PMI, and I was amazed because I had never seen a charter being revised in the life of a project. So I actually contested that with PMI. How is it possible that you can give me a new charter in the middle of the project? Then I had a meeting with the concerned people, and I was convinced on that because the objectives of the project had changed, rather than cancelling the whole project or delaying it for the next version, would not have served the purpose. And therefore, we have decided that these additional features, there were kind of 19 requirements which were to be in the original charter, and they wanted to add 5 new requirements into it. So they added those in the charter, and as a compensation, they gave us 1 extra year to work on the standard, because naturally everything had to be tweaked, and the new standard was delayed by 1 year, and just by adding those 5 new requirements. So I was convinced that for the first time in my life, that yes, charters can also be revised. Holistic understanding of the project. First, find out the boundaries of the negotiation. When we are doing the negotiation, there is a problem between 2 parties, we are trying to negotiate. Normally, it is with the 2 contracting bodies. two bodies who are getting into a contract with each other. They have to negotiate a lot many things. So listen to the both sides, draw a boundary of negotiation, see what you want to be decided. Naturally, I'm on one side. So what is my agreement? I must understand what my agreement is. How flexible can I be? What is the minimum or the maximum I can move back or forth? And same the other party would be doing. And where, when we are negotiating, where we somehow reach that overlap period, that is where we will reach the agreement. So the desired objective of the project must be really very clear. Then apply critical thinking. Critical thinking, as you understand, is the logical thing. This is the knowledge you have and the business acumen you have. You make use of that. There is no need of creative thinking here at all, because creative thinking is not required here. It is basically a logical decision between a couple of options. So logically, what is the best option? So we prohibit you to become creative in such a matter. This is not a matter where you have to become creative and think out of the box. Do not think out of the box. Apply your critical thinking and business acumen. Discover how the project fits in the organizational landscape and the business objective, and where you get the best fit, that is where you agree. That is where you get your negotiations done. How to create a holistic understanding of the project. Now, it is not only the project. Whenever you are getting into any kind of negotiation, you end up with an agreement, right? And that agreement could be in any form. It could be in form of a contract. It could be in form of a memorandum of understanding, which is quite informal form of the contract, where it is not really, there is no liability on both sides. Both sides have just signed a document that we intend doing some business in the future. They may have even mentioned what kind of business they are trying to do, but there is no specific commitments made that we invest this much money by this much day. No, they have no commitment. They say, okay, we are likely to invest some money in your thing, and then we can collaborate. So it could be a memorandum of understanding, which is very informal kind of a thing. Then we can have a service level agreement, where normally service level agreements are in continuation to a contract. When a contract has been accomplished, then the services you keep providing as a part of that contract is a separate contract, which we call a service level agreement. Letter of agreement or intent is a letter which is issued to the contractor when all their selection has almost been made. It is yet not announced, but we have made the final selection that this is the vendor or contractor to whom this contract is going to be assigned. So we are formally inviting them or letting them know that we do have an intent of giving you this contract ultimately. So be ready for that. So this is a formal document, but it is yet not our contract. There could be a verbal agreement. Maybe, I promised you that we will do this tomorrow. So this is not written anywhere, but I promised you. So this is also having its own standing. Verbal agreement, you can always tell me, you promised me yesterday that you will do it this with me today. So let us fulfill your promise. So that promise is the verbal agreement, and in many organizations and many countries, this has a great value. Then we have got communication, especially email. Sometimes we do not sign an agreement, but we inform someone through an email that, okay, we agree on your terms. So that is just like a proof, agreement that we have agreed. So this is also a kind of an agreement. We can refer to that email, which actually assigned us that job. So that becomes our contract. Then we have another terminology related to contracting, and that is called statement of work. This is a bit different, but it is relevant to the contract. Statement of work is the moment you realize that there is a job in your area of responsibility which you think you cannot perform due to certain reasons. Maybe you do not have the capability to do it. Maybe you do not have enough capacity to do it. Or maybe it is too risky to do it all by ourselves. So these are the three conditions. This decision I'm trying to make is called a make or buy decision. So I have to do a make or buy analysis before I can do the make or buy decision. This analysis will tell us, is it feasible to do it all by ourselves, or should we get it done from an outside party? So that is a make or buy decision. When we have decided that this cannot be done by us because of the three obvious reasons, any one of the three obvious reasons. Number one, we don't have a capability to do it, we don't have a capacity to do it, or it is too risky to do it all by ourselves. So any of these conditions, if it is true, then we decide that now this job has to be done by someone else. So for that someone else, we create a statement of work of that portion of work only. I'm not talking about the whole project. I'm talking about the portion of the project which my team decided we'll not be able to do it all by ourselves. So we have written it down in shape of a statement of work, but this is the list of all the work we need the contractor to do, whomsoever that contractor will be. So now you understand that the statement of work is developed at that point in time when you have decided that this portion of work must be outsourced. Now you could outsource portion of your project to some contractor also. You could outsource the work of your organization to a contractor. So whenever you have decided that something is to be outsourced or subcontracted, you must do first the make or buy analysis, reach a make or buy decision, and once a make or buy decision has been made, develop a detailed statement of work. That serve as the initiation document for all types of contracts or agreements or whatever the things are listed here. It could be a service level agreement, a letter of intent, whatever. The base document is called the statement of work. I hope I did not confuse you too much. Did you get the idea? We have to be really very clear about it, because the project we are doing right now, if you are doing a project, that must also have been outsourced to us by someone, maybe internally from our organization, maybe from some outside organization. So when they decided that they want this job done, they must have created a statement of work based on which we got into a kind of an agreement and we finally were awarded this contract. Now we are doing this project, but again, within this project, maybe the 98% work we are able to do all by ourselves, but 2% of the work we think that we do not have enough capability to do it. So we will create another statement of work within our project and advertise it, and then get into an agreement with some other party, third party, and we subcontract it to them. So statement of work is always behind our contract. Always. There has to be a statement of work, because that serves as the initiation document for any type of contract after that. So here we got introduced to these various kinds of agreement. Having said that, we actually in the previous slide we were talking more about the vision statement and the contract. Well, sorry, not the contract, vision statement and the charter. Classically speaking, I would not consider charter or a vision statement as a contract. They are not a contract. They are more of an agreement. This is a softer agreement. This is not something binding. So it is just charter could be given to a subordinate, right? But contract is given to an outside party. So just try to understand that fine difference. Although we are saying that charter is an agreement, and agreement could end up as a contract, but this agreement is within. This is between us, right? The project sponsor is giving it to a subordinate. So this agreement is between the subordinate and the project sponsor. So that is what it is. But here we have discussed so many things which relate to contract, subcontracting to outside vendors. Anyways, these are all basically agreement. As far as the business analyst work is concerned, you remember we said that when the business analyst work, even before the project work started, business analyst was assigned a business need. He was given a business need and he was told to analyze that. And once he analyzed that, he conducted a feasibility study. He established the benefits of that work, and he ultimately created a business case which was presented to the higher management, who, if they approve it, it will then be chartered as a project. Naturally, that means a business case must have been approved by the management, as if a project sponsor can be assigned. Project sponsor is responsible for writing the project charter, and which is an authorization for the project manager who will be assigned by the project sponsor. He will assign it to the project manager that these are your orders. This is the business case and this is the approved version of the business case. This is the project. These are the details of the project. Now you set up your team and get going with your project. That is an order given. Now, this is what the business case is all about. As I said, this business case story started with a business need document, which existed even before the business case was started. So business need was given by the higher level management to the business analyst as if he could do the feasibility and create a business case, which will then be approved by the management if it is feasible. So business need document identifies the higher level deliverables. It is a prerequisite for a formal business case, and it describes generally the requirements, what needs creating are performing. I hope I was able to differentiate between a business need and a business case. Business need is a basis for the business case. Business need is not created by the business analyst. It is given to the business analyst by the higher level management. Business analyst is responsible for conducting the feasibility study, doing a broad planning, establishing the benefits of the work and all, and ultimately presenting a completed, viable business case to the higher level management. If they approve it, that is when the project charter comes into being. So far, so good? Very nice.
Yep. Yep.
Then we have to negotiate and agree on the project success criteria. Very important thing. Now we do have a charter. I am the project manager. I have been given a project charter. So we have to define how this project would be declared complete or successful. That means we have to develop a success criteria. Now, we have already discussed about the key performance indicators and OKRs. Do you remember the OKRs? Although I'm not going to be referring them here, but they can also be used in replacement of the KPIs. But generally speaking, broadly speaking, I know the broad scope of my project, so I should know what should be the end result of that? What would be the conditions of success? What will all be presented to the end to the end user or the customer as if they can approve it? So, how would the user acceptance testing look like? What are the questions are they going to ask me, or what are the things they are going to check in the final product, right? And to get to that final product, during the life of the project, what are the key performance indicators which I have to satisfy the higher level management as if they would know that I am proceeding correctly on the path towards completion, and ultimately the last result is the user acceptance testing. So during this process, we'll learn the lessons, we'll be using the quality policy, and if it was a predictive project, we would be doing reporting and verification criteria for objective, and we will be doing the identification of deliverables and objectives for acceptance criteria for each. That is why I'm saying in predictive, because in predictive, we definitely know what we are doing. We have the complete scope of the project, we plan everything upfront, and we deliver what we promise. But in Agile, the things are very, very different because the requirements are not stable. The requirements are changing all the time, and therefore we cannot promise something as a final acceptance criteria or user acceptance testing for the whole product. The whole product is yet not known. So in Agile, what strategy we do is we break down our project, the whole project or the whole product of the project into very small user stories. User stories are even the bifurcation of the subparts of the requirement. The requirements and functionalities all are broken down into small user stories. Every user story must have its own acceptance criteria. So, in an Agile project, if there are, say, during the whole life of the Agile project, we do 2,000 user stories, so we will have 2,000 acceptance criteria for each for every user story. That means anything we deliver, anything we get approved, the acceptance criteria is approved, that thing is considered done. It is not to be redone. Never to be redone again, because that has been delivered, right? So that way, they may keep adding requirement and we keep completing those acceptance criteria of those user stories, and ultimately we keep delivering them. But the problem here in Agile is that because in a predictive project, when we deliver the final product, that is the point where we do the acceptance criteria, and naturally we comply with all the requirements, and all the compliance requirements also are completed, and that is the time we are hands off. Customer takes over and we are hands off. We are no more doing anything. But in Agile, we have a problem. Problem is, we are getting the user stories approved, but are we really delivering something to the customer? Or is the customer really desirous to get the results as if they can use it? No, we are not sure. It is not that at the end of every iteration, if I have completed 10 or 20 user stories, they have accepted those user stories, all right, but do they really want them delivered as if they can use it? So they may ask us that, okay, you can deliver this much, but not all. Maybe at the release point, they want us to deliver a lot many things. So whenever they want us to deliver, maybe at the end of an iteration, maybe at end of a release. So whenever we deliver those already accepted user stories, that is the point where we have to meet the compliance requirements. We have to ensure that all quality compliances, all safety, security, environmental compliances are also done. That is only required when we are physically handing over anything to the customer. That is called definition of done. Because this term is not used in predictive because acceptance criteria is not really separate for compliance. Compliance is a part of the acceptance criteria. But here, our acceptance criteria is against every user story, and therefore, compliances are not done. Compliances will only be done when we are ready to hand over anything to the customer or when customer demands it. So whenever we are giving all those user stories which are required by the customer to be delivered, we will do the definition of done. And definition of done means we will comply with all the compliance requirements. And that is when we can physically release those items to the customer. Physically, right? I hope you understand the concept of definition of done and acceptance criteria in both cases. Michael, okay?
Yes, okay.
Good. Okay, now let us do some visualization. How do we understand the requirements when the customer is trying to tell us? Especially in an agile environment, it is really very difficult that customer can explain clearly what they want. Usually, customer cannot explain it because they may not know the technical lingo. The way we describe that things in technical terms, customer may have a different lingo or different language to explain that. So it is very difficult that customer can visualize all the requirements and explicitly give us those requirements. So what do? We have some methods developed in Agile to make it possible to read the mind of the customer or scratch or elicit the information out of the mind of the customer. The things he cannot explain in words, how can we make sure that customer is tells us all the things in the required level of detail? One method is a product box exercise. I have tried my level best to having numerous discussions with the customer, and customer is very vague about what they want, right? We are absolutely confused what he wants to say, and there is no head and tail out of it. So what I can do is I can say, okay, let us assume that whatever you want us to produce, we have done that already. And your desired product, I don't know what it is, but whatever you want is in a finished format, it is available with you. Right? Have you assumed that? Right? Once you have assumed that, I will ask you, now you are the marketing manager of your company, and this product which is available with you and you know it is there, you have to sell it, right? So sell it to me. I ask him to sell this imaginary product to me for which he is unable to explain the requirements. You understand my point? So if I ask you to sell something to me like a pen, what would you say?
You'd say things like, this is the best pen that you'll ever have because and then you start telling you all the really good things about the pen. Like
Okay.
It might be the type of grip it's got, the type of ink it uses,
okay,
the nib. Why you start explaining
right.
what was so really good about the pen to make people think, man, I really want one of those.
When you're explaining that, what are you doing? You are telling me all the features of that product, which you were otherwise not able to explain.
Yeah.
I will keep noting it down. Okay, this can use these kinds of inks. Okay, very nice. This is one requirement. What else? What else? What else? So product box exercise is a beautiful exercise which we can elicit information out of the brain of our customer. Do this product box exercise whenever you feel stuck, whenever you feel your customer is unable to define what they want. So let us do the project box exercise. Another way of doing it is called extreme programming, XP, extreme programming metaphor. That is, let us talk in a layman language and sacrifice all the technical jargon and lingo, right? Let us make a small kind of a situation, right? And develop a metaphor like a fairy story. For example, when a princess was going on her journey and this happened, and what should she do? You understand my point? A metaphorical story, which is not actually true from the project point of view, but actually it serves to highlight a specific feature of the product. So that is called a XP metaphor. And I would say that in a way, our user stories in Agile is a improvement of this XP metaphor. Actually, in a user story, we are giving out a small piece of requirement and we are trying to explain it from the point of view of a character. That character we call a persona. Like in XP metaphor, in a fairy tale, we created a character of a princess. When the princess was crossing the jungle, she had this problem. So that was a metaphor. So princess was my persona. So in our agile user story, we have personas and situations, right? So there is an explicit format for creating a user story in which we say what who will need it, what he will do, and what he will require. Anyways, I'll show you the format when we come to the user stories, but actually user story is a refined form of XP metaphor. Another form, if you have ever worked with IT industry, they use a terminology called use cases. Use case is a more serious term for this hypothetical fairy tale kind of a metaphor. It is more serious, more professional term, but user story is a very lightweight kind of a terminology, which even a person who is not technical would be able to easily understand what we are talking about. We are going to talk in terms of stories, right? Like metaphors. I hope this clarifies to you how important it is to clear the vision, how important it is to describe various specifications of a product. It cannot be possible all the time that it can always be described in a technical term. Maybe we have to resort to much basic methods of explaining things, like a product box, XP metaphor, use cases, or maybe the user story. Anyways, now we understand that we have got the agreement on the project. Like, we have the project charter. There is no single way to create a project charter. So if you ask me, there could be, you could create any format. But we did talk about many things, what should be included in a charter. So just consider that this authorization must represent all what has been given out as a result from the business case. You must keep the stakeholders in mind and all those things which are mentioned in the project charter. Project charter, what it does and why it is important. Naturally, I told you it serves to authorize the project. It shifts the responsibility from the shoulder of the sponsor to the shoulder of the project manager. It enables the project manager to apply resources to project work, meaning after the project manager has been assigned the charter, now it is the job of the project manager to mobilize the resources as if the work can be initiated. Define rational and business need. Although we have a business need and a business case already provided to us, but this authorization, this charter, this actually explains all that story to us. Why is it is so important to do this project? The reason is hidden in the rationale and the business need. So we have to refer back to the business need to rationalize our project. It verifies the alignment with the strategic goals. Naturally, our charter tells us how this initiative will serve to achieve certain strategic goals or objectives, thus achieving the vision and mission of the organization. Keeps everyone focused on a clear project vision. So everyone must be on the same page in a common understanding. All the team members, all the stakeholders, we must share this vision with everyone and tell them this is the objective and this is the direction we are going. It is usually created by the project sponsor. I would like to delete the words the project manager, because project manager has absolutely nothing to do with the creation of project charter. I know why they sometimes write our project manager. The reason is project manager is actually helping the project sponsor in the development of project charter, but the authorship can only be credited to the project sponsor. Project manager cannot take the credit of authorship of this document because this document has to be issued to the project manager. So project manager is not the giver, he is the receiver of that document. Therefore, we don't want to call in any way, we don't want to give any notion that it was created by the project manager. No, project manager has nothing to do with the creation of the project charter, except for providing some help to the project sponsor here, there. So, usually created by project sponsor with executive and stakeholder approval. Sometimes a statement of work can serve as a charter. Now, can you tell me when can a statement of work serve as a charter? Meaning, yet your project has not started, so we are not talking about the statement of works coming out of the project. Project has yet not started. We are trying to start the project. That means whatever we are doing in this project might be a need of someone else who had created a statement of work and has awarded this project to us, to our company, to our organization. So that means it may be possible that we do not write a separate new charter, but we adopt the statement of work which was given to us, and it serves as a charter to us. I hope that makes the things clear.
Yep, get that.
Good enough. Generally, what should be addressed in a charter? It should clearly show who is the project sponsor, who is the author of this document, who is the project manager, and who are the key stakeholders. This is not possible that you can list down hundreds and thousands of stakeholders at this stage. So only the key stakeholders will suffice, right? So business analysts are the project sponsor. They won't be able to identify a lot many stakeholders. So whatever key stakeholders they have mentioned, you should take a note of that. That is a good starting point. Further exploration about who else are the stakeholders, that would fall under your responsibility as a project manager. Then you should provide some description of the project, like some of the preliminary requirement, some of the measurable objectives, that kind of thing. But naturally, this is not a very detailed thing. It could be a paragraph or two, which could briefly describe the project. Then it should also describe what is the business need. I mean, we have a document of business need and we have a document of business case. I am just asking you to summarize that into a paragraph or so and write it into the charter. But you will have the business need and the business case already attached as an annex to the charter, right? So you just have to make a reference to that. That is exactly what I wanted. So business need, might include the financial goals or milestones. Then it also may provide, the project charter may provide, I won't say a schedule, rather I would say a roadmap. It should give you a timeline that this project is likely to be completed in, say, 1 year, and it should have at least these many phases, something like that. Some of the major milestones could have been mentioned. So when it says summary schedule, it is more like a timeline or a roadmap, right? Don't really want to call it a schedule, because schedule is much more detailed and it will be created by the project manager. Then it should also cover some, if at all, some assumptions, some boundaries, some constraints, some risks, some approval requirements, approved budget, and all that. Those kind of things are known. They could have been mentioned here in the chart, right? I'm not saying that all the assumptions should be known. No, they cannot be known. When you'll start planning as a project manager, you will come up with a lot many assumptions, the boundaries may switch, the constraints may increase or decrease. The stakeholders, because they are changing, they are also going to be affecting you. So we can start with something, but naturally, during the life of the project, you will have a lot of work to do on all of these areas. As I said, the business case is attached as the annexure. So information from the business case, including the success criteria and the exit criteria. Success criteria we already understand, but all conditions which, if met, would declare the project complete. Then what is the exit criteria? Michael, any ideas on that? What could be the exit criteria of this project?
Is that the criteria to sort of confirm that the project is finished and the customer is happy with the outcome?
Then that was the success criteria.
That was what, sorry?
That was the success criteria, this one. Success criteria. Exit criteria is different.
I'm not that clear on exit criteria.
Exit criteria is when you can't meet the success criteria and you cannot continue on with the project forever, you don't have any chance of success, then you have to get out of it. You have to stop the project. So this exit criteria is that condition. In what condition can you get out of the project? You can close the project without success. You got that?
Cancellation criteria, basically.
So exit criteria is not the success criteria. Exit criteria is how can we get out of this impossible situation.
Yeah. So it's basically when you realize that you've started a project that can't be delivered, it tells you when you should be cancelling the project and moving on to something more useful.
Exactly. You should define it while you are writing the charter. You should define it. What is the exit criteria, right? So whenever that situation occurs, you would refer back to the exit criteria and exit out of the project according to that. Anyways, the project charter, some people write it in a very detailed format, but I suppose it should not be a very lengthy document. I would love if the charter is written on a single piece of paper, maybe 2 pages long, but it should not be a 200 long document. It is not a descriptive document. Charter is a authorization, and that authorization should be given in a very brief words. So this is a very beautiful example of a one-page charter of a Shoppe lifestyle center, and it covers almost everything in a very, very brief format. We do have an understanding that beside this one-page charter, we are also providing the business case and the business need to the project manager. Definitely, he can go through that in more detail. But here we have the name of the project, the name of the project manager, the name of the project sponsor. Then we have email address and phone, the personal contact details, organizational unit, and what is the approximate estimated cost, what is the expected savings out of this project, what are the expected start date, and what is the expected completion date. Maybe in the project review session, we give a one-liner on what is the problem or issue, and one-liner on the purpose of the project, one-liner on the business case which is attached, one-liner on goals and metrics, a brief description of expected deliverables, a brief description of risk, constraints, assumptions, all put together. We don't want to write a thesis here. We just want to make a mention of various risk, constraints, and assumptions. Then, as far as the project scope is concerned, we can have those things mentioned which should be included within the scope of the project, and those which should not be included and which are outside of the scope of the project. That much is enough. Don't go in any further detail. Then you could give out a tentative schedule, a broad schedule. How many phases are there in the project? What are major breakdowns? Maybe you could provide, if you can provide a start and finish approximate date. And if you don't want to provide, that is all right. Because project manager is going to create a detailed schedule for you. This is how a project charter may look like. Although it is just a sample, it is just an example. You may like to seek certain guidance of it, but this is not a suggested form. You, in your organization, will like to have your own designed format according to the needs of your organization. But generally, organizations do develop certain templates and formats to be used for various purposes. So you must have a project charter template in your organization, which must be followed by all kinds of projects running in your organization. So does that happen in your organization? Do you have a format or template for the charter?
Not for the charter. I usually create a short form project management plan that has most of this in it.
More details in it, huh?
Yeah, but there's depends on the project, but I like to have I generally have a very high level one. So there's the one that you create, the big massive one. That's really good if you're trying to bring a project manager on board or something. If you're just trying to bring an engineer on board, I have asked ChatGPT and other versions like that to create me a 3-page version of this, and it does basically this. Right. And so I've used that in the past, where it's like you're coming on board, you don't need to know all the details. Okay. But here you go. Here's the project summary.
Okay, very nice. And Michael, what do you have? Do you have something looking like this?
I haven't seen one. I don't think I'm close enough to the higher level to have seen it.
Okay. But you see, how do they give you the, if you are a project manager in your organization, how do they give their orders? Are they in writing or verbal? Order to start a new project.
I'm not close enough to that level, I think, to know. It's the big dogs that do that.
Okay. Well, the simplest form of charter could be that they write you a letter that you have been assigned as a project manager and briefly describe the project. It may not cover all of these details, but that could serve as a charter also.
Just curious, Michael. When you get assigned a project, how do you find out you're assigned to the project?
So I'm part of what's called the major capital delivery team, and so I came on board with a few in-flight projects, and there hasn't really been sort of like, okay, now we're starting on a new project, in the sense that I can tell you that there's one project that's sort of it just had its budget approved, and so they're currently in the design phase. But it's really early stages, so they're more focused on choosing the land correctly rather than, say, nailing down all the medical devices.
Yeah, so when you joined and these projects were in progress already, how did you find out what you were supposed to be doing? Did you just ask someone?
It's just sort of my role, my responsibility, my job title. I don't know how to explain. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, to be honest.
I was just curious because whenever someone onboards to my team, I sit down with them and tell them what the project is, what we're doing, and what I want them to do in the project and the why, all these things. I was just curious, as other organizations, is how you find out what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't, if there's not.
So I guess like one way is I work quite closely with what we call the FF&E team, fixtures, furniture, and equipment. And so I'm looking through the list and picking out, what is the clinical equipment and what the requirements are to install that clinical equipment. Because some equipment's really simple. You just wheel it into the room. Nothing needs to be done. And then some clinical equipment can be a lot more complex where it might need to be bolted to the ground and have all sorts of IT, network ports ready for it.
So things like an MRI is much easier, much more difficult to install than a crash trolley, for example.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess with the more advanced pieces of equipment, that would have a lot more going into the install process of that piece of equipment, which is a small part of the entire building as a whole.
Got you. Yeah. So you don't have, but you use basically that list of all the equipment to then figure out what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of probably one of the biggest inputs for me.
Yeah. So that's like your chart. Cool.
Okay. Then we move on to the kickoff meeting, and kickoff meeting, as I mentioned earlier, this is a little bit more detailed now. When do you conduct a kickoff meeting?
At the kickoff. At the kickoff. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Right? Is it at the start? After?
Yeah, so the kickoff. The kickoff meeting tends to be the first formal meeting where everybody comes together to understand and discuss what you're doing on a project.
Exactly.
So interestingly, is that the internal kickoff meeting or the overall kickoff meeting?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to know about that. What other kickoff meeting can be there? You mentioned
knows the
kickoff meetings.
Yeah, we do too. So the project manager knows the project is coming a long time before everybody else. Sorry, I'm having internet issues here. So they start finding out about the project, but you've got all your engineers and your designers and your schedulers. They have no idea it's coming. So that I get it, I find out about it, but you don't want to walk into the client with everyone so you sit down with the team and say, this is the project, this is what we're doing. Let's ask the questions right now that you do not want to ask me in front of the client, so they all get familiar with it. So that then when we walk in and sit down in front of the client, when we bring their team and our team together to start working together, everybody's sort of up to speed, because generally the client's team has done a load of work and knows it's there already, and we are coming up. So we don't want to be down here. We want to be on the way up the hill when we start that.
But one thing is sure, that when we conduct a kickoff meeting, the project must have existed. It cannot be project is yet not there and you're having a kickoff meeting. So
the project has to have run. Yeah, you have to have defined your requirements and everything else and charters and
stuff. But I agree with your point of view, because there are two kinds of kickoff meetings. One for simple and small projects in which nothing much has to be planned and we know already beforehand. So as soon as the charter is issued, we can put together the stakeholders and conduct a kickoff meeting, which is a formal announcement of the charter and our approach in it. So this is just kind of a celebration. It's a kind of a presentation of the readiness that we are launching ourselves into the project. So naturally, this establishes the project context. It assists in team formation. Naturally, we are going to form the team. It aligns the team and the stakeholders with the project vision. So we are bringing everyone on the same page. But trust me, there is yet another kind for a very complex and a complicated project. We may have this initial kickoff, but this is not enough. After, in a predictive project, when we have finalized all our planning and we are ready to go into execution, that is usually considered to be the kickoff point for a larger project, right? So smaller projects, yes, after receiving the charter, you have the kickoff meeting. But for more detailed and more complicated project, and again, I would say predictive complicated project, you would complete your planning. Everything is completely well understood. And before you get into the execution, you get everyone involved, have a kickoff meeting, and formally announce that tomorrow we are starting the work on the project. Right. So this is as far as the main purpose is concerned. The organizational and public level, once we have the conduct kickoff meeting, we formally announce the project has been initiated. We share our vision, our understanding with everyone else, maybe in shape of a document or a documentary or some kind of a newsletter. Identify major sponsors, key stakeholders, and project managers, and include high-level items from the project charter. Naturally, project charter is the authorization. We could get out some excerpts from that, and we can copy it there in our newsletter or whatever. As far as the team members or internal team is concerned, who actually will be involved in conducting this project, we give them a detailed overview of the charter. We clarify their doubts and their roles and responsibilities, what is included in the team charter and what is not, because team charter is for the team. And in Agile, we said the team develops the team charter, but in predictive project, the project manager develops the team charter. So basically, from the guidelines from the charter, project charter will help us develop the team chart, because project manager is developing that. But in an Agile project, as you know, I said that team will be responsible for developing their own norms, their team chart. In a predictive project, we present results of planning effort. Before execution, before getting into the execution, we kick off. Now, in Agile projects, things are going to be very different. In Agile project, we don't have all the requirements. So, as soon as your product backlog is initiated, the requirements have started dropping into the product backlog, we could have initiated. We could have kicked off. Because this is going to continue until the end of the project. The product backlog is going to be a living document. So as soon as product backlog is initiated, we would say that kickoff meeting is on. In a hybrid project, because we depend more on the product roadmap, because product roadmap is a junction between the predictive part of the project and the adaptive part of the project. So product roadmap, as soon as that is presented and agreed by the management and stakeholders, that point is considered to be a kickoff. I hope that all these things are clear.
Yeah, reasonable, yeah.
So before we call off today, we have some questions here. The business determines the project you are managing must be based on a plan-driven project management approach. This is partially due to SMART objectives. So the simple question is, what does the T stand for in SMART?
Timely.
Yeah, timely.
Timely. Very nice. Okay, which two of the following are components of a project agreement? I think answer is already
Yeah.
pricing and payment terms and incentive and penalties. Team members are not known at the time of project agreement, and complete product backlog cannot be present at that time.
Yeah.
Which two of the following should be included in a project charter?
Measurable objective. C and A and C.
Yeah, agree.
You agree, Michael?
Yes.
A and C are the correct answers. Detailed deliverables cannot be known at that time. Change request is coming a lot later. So we come to the end of this section. Tomorrow when we start, we will start with slide number 131, and that is about the project approach. We are actually left with probably 35 more slides on this chapter, and then we'll be done with this chapter, right? So tomorrow we'll talk more about the various methodologies, project approaches, predictive, agile, hybrid, whatever. We'll talk more about those approaches. Any questions so far?
No.
No questions here.
Okay, wonderful then. See you tomorrow. Be prepared for the project approach. Thank you and take care.
Thanks, Suhail. See you later.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.